Welcome to a special edition of The Local Show here on GrassRoots Community Network, Facebook and YouTube. Guys, thanks for watching us live here on Facebook today, as I'm so excited to bring back an encore performance, longtime local legend and Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, John Oates. Welcome back to the show, buddy.
That's great. Thanks for asking me, man. It got me off the couch. I like that. But I'm back on the couch.
Hey,
Just a different couch.
Don't worry, I won't ask you to lie back and tell me about your childhood. So tell me about your relationship with your mother. No, we're not going to go that deep, but we're going to get into some good topics today. We've got a full 1 hour special. We're going to have live music. So excited that you're here. And you've been here in Aspen for a few weeks.
Yeah, we came a couple weeks ago, and we first, as I was telling you earlier, we did not come out for the holiday season, which was the first time we haven't spent Christmas here in about 30 years, which was very unusual for us. Wow. But nevertheless, COVID's made us all go through some changes, and we adapt. But now we're here, and we're going to really dig the summer. The summer's, as you well know, the summer's pretty. I don't think there's a better place on earth than Aspen, Colorado in the summer.
Oh, man, the old adage, came here for the ski season, stayed for the summer, right?
Sure.
And all that. So you've had a chance to be here a couple weeks. Have you been skiing, or what have you been up to? We're here in April now, finally.
I caught a little bit of Nordic skiing before the snow got too rotten.
Nice.
And I got on my bike a little bit, and just kind of easing into the valley.
We're going to talk about some athletic stuff, including the new road bike, which is so exciting. So I got on my first road bike ride today.
Yeah.
Here as we just get into April. That is no April Fools.
That's right.
Although I felt a little foolish. It's always like that first bike ride, you're kind of feeling it out. But here's the thing, after fat biking on snow this winter, you get on the road bike and it's like you're literally taking flight. All of a sudden it's like 3 times faster, feeling the wind, and it's just
I can imagine.
Fast gliding.
It is. First time I got on my road bike too, I thought, "You sure this isn't electric?"
Right. It seems like too easy.
It was just it was coasting. It was just going. I was like, "Oh, this is good."
God, it's so great. Yeah. All different kinds of cycling are great, and we'll talk more about that. But I wanted to kind of put a little, I guess, a bow, so to speak, on the COVID. Kind of this whole last year and the process and the challenges, and you and I had talked about that on the summer show. When you were so kind to be here, and kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I guess kind of like then and now in terms of, things that you gained or benefited from, silver lining, so to speak, then coming through it, and then now what you look forward to as we kind of all vaccinated and we're moving forward kind of into the light.
Well, it took me it took me quite a while, a few months almost, to accept the fact that I wasn't going anywhere. Because my life is, ever since I started professionally recording and touring in '72, I have traveled all the time, every year. It's never, ever stopped.
That's crazy.
So for me to actually accept that, hey, you ain't going anywhere, dude. You're staying home. I thought, okay, now I've got to embrace that. And that's what I did. I tried to make the most of it. I had this amazing creative spurt in the beginning of the pandemic COVID thing, where I started writing songs, listening to music that I hadn't listened to in a long time, getting re-inspired. And then these cool projects started coming my way. I don't know whether it was just one of those things. I guess I was just open to it. And a movie project with a great director here in town, actually lives in Snowmass, E.J. Forrester, has this very cool movie called Gringa, which is a story of a young girl from Southern California who goes to find her estranged father in Mexico. And he asked me to write if I would write a song. And I wrote a song, and he said, "This is perfect." And he said, "You want to do more?" And I said, "Yeah." So he sent me the script, and I pulled together some collaborations with a cool hip-hop young kid from South Carolina, a Mexican female from Mexico City, who I did a Spanish duet with. So stuff that I never would have done had I been on tour started coming my way, which was really cool.
Wow. And kind of now moving forward, we had, again, talked in the last show, you had just started your Hall & Oates tour, sold out Madison Square Garden.
Right.
Next day, kind of COVID hits.
Yep.
The rest of the tour goes away.
Yeah,
are you more kind of like settled in now and enjoying these alternatives, or are you more kind of chomping at the bit to get back on tour, including with Daryl Hall?
I think it's a bad idea to let an old road dog stay home too long. because now that I've been home, I'm kind of digging it.
You're learning new tricks.
Yeah, no, it's been fun being home. You know, my wife and I have really, you know, just enjoyed being together. You know, we're always together, but we're really together. And she helped me produce. She co-produced the the Oates Song Fest, that 7908 that we did, which has a connection to Aspen. Because it was supposed to be live, but it became virtual. So, a lot of cool things have happened.
Let's talk about that, and then we'll take a little bit of a break. Sure. But Oates Song Fest 7908, which is the elevation of Aspen.
That's right.
And can you tell people a little more about, because that just happened March 20th?
Yes,
okay.
It aired March 20th. Well, back in 2010 and 11, we did a series of shows at the Wheeler Opera House called the Aspen Songwriters Festival 7908.
Okay.
And that, of course, is, as you said, the elevation of Aspen. We didn't have a name for it, and Amy saw the sign as we were driving into town, and she said, "Why don't you call it 7908?" We said, "Okay, perfect."
Nice.
And we did a series of shows that were really great and very, you know, it was really one of my proudest things I've ever done as a musician, to organize those shows back in the day. And when we came back to town this past summer, we met with Tori, the mayor, who used to do sound for us, by the way, and the gal who was Nancy, who was the interim director of the Wheeler. And she said, would you consider doing the Aspen Songwriters Festival again? And because, you know, back in the summer, we thought maybe by this time we would be doing live shows.
Right.
And as the year progressed and we realized that wasn't going to happen, we pivoted and we said, you know what, let's do a virtual version of it for charity, and let's keep the 7908 to link it to its roots in Aspen years ago. So that's how we put this show together. And we partnered with feedingamerica.org, and we generated 450,000 meals for American families. So super, super proud of that. Wow. And Amy was a big part of putting that together, along with this great team called Drive Entertainment from New York. So it was just really an amazing thing. And the way the artists responded. We reached out to, you know, I started reaching out to people I really knew really well, and people who had like an Aspen kind of connection. You know, people like Lyle Lovett, Bob Weir,
nice.
People like that, Sean Colvin, Keb Mo. And little by little, once they committed, you know, other people started jumping on board, Dave Grohl, and of course I reached out to Daryl Hall to do it. And it became a really amazing show, and super proud of it.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So how can people kind of check that out and get involved or even contribute?
Well, they can't, because it was a one and done.
Okay, I gotcha.
It was technical music business crap. It had to do with licensing for the songs.
I gotcha.
Because we weren't going to archive it and show it repeatedly.
Okay.
A lot of the artists were more, let's put it this way, their handlers were more willing to let us use the material.
I gotcha.
You run into a lot of this kind of stuff. It's too boring. But point being is it came out on March 20th on Nugs TV. Okay. And a lot of people loved it, and it was great.
So cool. So cool. Well, I'm sure we'll have live, you know, back to kind of normal times. In fact, the Wheeler has announced they're going to be open this summer.
Yep.
So they're moving forward. So we'll have another hopefully linked event. You know,
we're getting
related.
there. Live is, you know, you can't replace live music. You can stream music all you want, but nothing replaces live shows. So
right. Well, we got some live music coming up today on the local show, John.
Well,
I'm excited. We're going to take a quick break. I need to rehydrate. You probably do too.
Sure.
We were out exercising earlier today. Guys, we're going to take a quick break. Our only one of the show. We do want to thank our amazing winter partners, our underwriters, Klug Properties, White River Overland, Sundog Athletics, and Picken County Landfill. We'll be right back, guys. We've got live music queuing up with John Oates and so much more, including maybe a few stories you haven't heard. So don't go away. Thanks for sticking with us, guys, on a special 1-hour edition with John Oates back in town. John, you lived here since the 70s, correct?
You know, I came out in the late 70s and, bought a little condo in the early 80s. But it was really a second home for me. And then in late 80s, I decided I had enough of New York City and the East Coast, and I pulled up stakes and came out here and met my wife and built a house, had a kid, and never left, really.
Wow. Yeah. Let's talk about that, and then we'll kind of lean into some of the more current, things. So many things that you're up to currently. But you kind of, like you said, you got away from this kind of East Coast hustle bustle, rock star, career's blowing up. There's all this kind of pressure, and then you come out to Aspen.
Yeah.
And have this kind of must have been kind of like And I mean, can you talk about that kind of that early time and that kind of that contrast between here and the East Coast life?
Without getting too deep into the gory details, I had some issues with business. I had some issues with my personal life. I was married. I got divorced, and I felt like I needed a change. And I had this little condo out here, which I would, come out just for skiing or whatever. Nice. And I literally just sold everything I had back east and moved into the condo and started over. And it was something, it was a cleansing. It was a cathartic change of life that I needed to do. And it was probably the best thing I ever did because it put things in perspective for me. I began to hang out with, folks like you and my ski friends and bike friends, and they didn't care whether I was a musician or a rock star or whatever, and it was all about living in the mountains and enjoying the beauty of what Aspen had to offer and the new friends I made and living in a different way all through from the late 80s all through the 90s.
You're just like a local guy. You're just a local.
When I first moved here, doing your thing. Yeah, when I first moved here, I even sold my car.
Nice.
And I put studs on my mountain bike, studded tires, and I rode my mountain bike back and forth, and I took the bus, and it was actually a really good thing for me. And then little by little, I eased back into that other life that I have. But meanwhile, that by then, I was married and building a house and had a little baby boy, and so things were, like I said, perspective was different.
Sounds like you got more balance. Like
yeah,
you had
that's exactly
the Aspen influence had the balance because you still you pursued your your rock star and you went big and kept touring and doing all that, but you also had the Aspen kind of a grounding. It almost sounds
absolutely.
like a natural grounding.
Yeah, that's
literally
exactly
in nature.
It was about living in the mountains and realizing there was a different way of life that I could live. That because I was like a rat in a maze. I toured and made an album every year from 1972 until 1986 or 87.
You're like a machine.
Never stopped for I actually didn't know what it was like to be home or really live, in a different way. It's kind of crazy when you really think about it. But so it gave me, as you said, it gave me some balance, gave me a different perspective. And moving forward there, music was always a part of my life, but it became a part of my life, not the only thing in my life.
Right. Let's talk about skiing because the early days of skiing, we got some fun images too, where again, you're mixing the music life, the mountain lifestyle, along with the skiing, which is the heart of it for a lot of us. We wanted to just be ski bums.
That's right.
The other stuff was kind of add on. We brought in mountain biking, we brought in hiking. But so let's talk about, like your passion for skiing, like just your feelings, kind of core feelings for the sport, and especially early on in those kind of 70s days.
My first experience was in 1968. I came out here in 1968 on a college. There was a 3x5 card on the student union bulletin board at Temple University saying, "Ski Aspen for a week, lodging included, lift tickets $125," and didn't include the flight. And I said, there was some guy in my English class or something. For some reason, we started talking about skiing. And I had been skiing on the East Coast, in the Poconos and Vermont and Massachusetts, but I'd never been out west. And so he and I said, we were kids, we were like 19. So let's go to Aspen. So we didn't realize that Aspen was pretty far from Denver. So we booked a flight. We got to Denver. And then we didn't know how to get to Aspen. We were waiting for our bags, and there was a few older guys who were talking about renting a car. And we said, "Hey, can we just chip in for some gas and go with you?"
Hitch a ride.
So we hitched a ride. I remember staying at a little ski lodge up right where the base of Lift 1A is now. I can't remember the name of it. And it was almost we got there in the middle of the night.
Maybe Skier Chalet or
probably
one of those, yeah.
And there was a St. Bernard.
Oh, classic.
And a fire pit.
Oh, my gosh.
And
This is it.
went into this dorm room, and there was some guy from L.A., some hippie from L.A. was in there. And that night it snowed like a foot. Woke up the next morning, and I'd never even seen powder. And I was like, oh, man, what is going on? And it was too magical.
Crazy
and so
aspect.
because we wanted to get our feet wet, went to Buttermilk, of course, because I didn't know what I was in for. And I floundered around, of course. I was like, I got to figure this out. So that was my first experience. And then I came back in the 70s and began to spend a lot more time here with some really good friends. And little by little, here again, as I said, bought a condo, and the rest is that history.
What was it like kind of when you elevated you were a resident basically at that point and becoming almost semi-ski bum?
Yeah.
What was that like in
Well,
terms of kind of developing that
made
ski
a lot of
bum
good
life?
friends. A lot of good friends. The Mooney brothers, Tim and Full and Half Moon, Andy Mill, and some great people. And within a few years, right in the late '80s, I started telemark skiing. I had a very good friend, Art Burroughs and my buddy Russ Klein and Ned Ryerson.
Yeah.
I had the free heel fever, and
Nice.
once I started free heel telemark skiing, I never looked back. So I did that, basically until I decided it was time for me to get off the mountain. And I love telemark skiing. Telemark skiing in powder to me was the ultimate experience.
Yeah.
It was
Well,
like
you're dipping deeper into it.
And hey, you
More
can,
face shots.
You can get
too,
face
right?
shots with 6 inches of
Right,
snow. When you
exactly, dipping down in.
But even beyond that, every step you take in a telemark turn is like 8, 9, 10 feet. It's like giant steps down the mountain.
Okay.
And I just love that feeling.
So athletic too. It's like doing lunges.
Well, I had big quads, so
you're getting worked.
I had big quads and a low center of gravity. Two good things for tele skiing.
And you couldn't have had better role models there with Telly Ned and
the best
Art.
guys.
Those guys are legends. And
yeah.
So cool. So now, kind of fast forwarding to current skiing, do you prefer Nordic over Alpine? Or do you do both?
Well, what happened? I got hurt a number of times. I've had 2 shoulder reconstructions, had a knee, and it was just. I felt like because I was living in Nashville and wasn't spending as much time, I wasn't as fit as I used to be, and I just didn't want to get hurt anymore. So I kind of made a conscious decision, and started Nordic skiing, started skate skiing, and with the free heel concept of that, it wasn't that much different from my telemark skiing in terms of. But I knew it was safer, and it was just such a great way to stay fit, and so I've been embracing that.
And I've seen you out there, getting after it on the Rio Grande Trail, and you prefer skating over classic?
I've got both. I've got both sets.
Skating classic.
I like skating because it's a little bit more of a challenge for me. So I basically get about 40 yards, and I have to stop.
Right.
have to catch my breath, and then I
just gotta stay here longer and keep doing that progression.
That's the whole idea.
More time and aspect.
That's the whole idea. Yep.
Well, also in more recent times, you had an interesting collaboration with this guy Sax Squatch.
Sax Squatch.
So what's up with Sax Squatch? Or he's like a musically talented,
He is a 7 foot. He is a 7 foot saxophone playing Sasquatch who lives in the woods somewhere, and I have no idea where. My wife found him on Instagram, and she said, "You got to check this guy out." We checked him out.
Oh my gosh!
And we direct messaged him.
No way.
And he responded, and my wife kind of leads me on all these adventures.
She's taking good care of you, man.
She is. And she said, he said, "Let's do a collab. Let's collaborate." I said, "Great." And I had done this version of Maneater that was kind of like this reggae version.
Nice.
And he loved it. He said, let's work on it. So we worked on it. He came to Nashville. We did a video, and we reproduced it in an EDM version. So it's like an electronic dance music version of Maneater.
Oh my gosh.
And
we've got it. So without further ado, let's check that out here next.
Sounds good. This thing sounds so good, but we just need to find some magic.
She only comes out at night, the lean and hungry type. Nothing is new, I've seen her here before. Watching and waiting, baby. She's sitting with you, but her eyes are on the door.
that just looks like too much fun. I mean, this guy, like, you guys must have been laughing your butts off.
Oh,
like,
we had a blast. I mean, it's just so crazy. I mean, who in the world would have ever thought? I mean, if someone would have told me, "Oh yeah, you're going to be
One day.
you're going to be doing a collaboration with a 7-foot Sasquatch playing saxophone dude," I wouldn't have believed it. But now I believe anything pretty much. So
right.
Yeah.
That's so much fun. Well, enjoying again all the variety of things that normally maybe wouldn't have happened,
That's right.
Unless this whole COVID ride this last year kind of just shifted us all into different avenues.
True.
But let's shift back just for a little bit to an old time favorite. We want to hear some live music today too. And
Sure.
You got something in mind for us?
Well, it depends. What is your preference, sir? Would you like to go very old school Hall & Oates, or you want to hear something new? You tell me.
Let's start old school Hall & Oates first.
Okay.
But I'm going to let you make the choice.
Okay.
And then we're going to have some new songs too.
All right.
So whatever you feel like, whatever. How about celebratory to like feel good? We're kind of on a good, vibration. You guys had a lot of upbeat songs.
Oh.
I'll let you.
I think you're leading me in a direction. You're leading me in a direction. I was going to go somewhere else, but I'll go there. I got a little version of a very, very popular song. It just, by the way, a song that just streamed 1 billion times.
Oh my gosh. With a B.
That's 1 billion. That's right. And so, but this is like this is not you'll recognize it, but this is the rockabilly version of that song. All right?
Okay. Sounds good.
What I want, you got, and it might be hard to handle, like a flame that burns a candle. Candle gonna feed the flame. What I want from stock, thoughts and dreams is gathered. Will you pull them all together? How I can explain whether you make my dreams come true. Well, you make my dreams come true. On a night when bad dreams become a screamer, when they're messing with the dream, I wanna laugh right in your face, then twist and shout my way out. Wrap yourself around me. I ain't the way you found me. Never gonna be the same. Whether you make my dreams come true. Well, you make my dreams come true. Oh, and listen to this. Down on a daydream, let's see what should be over, and I know you make my dreams come true. Well, I've been waiting for you every day. Make my dreams come true. I wake up in the morning with you. You make my dreams come true. Ooh, every day. Ooh, you make my dreams come in every way. Yeah. You. You
Yeah. Very creative. That was fun.
It's a rockabilly version.
Upbeat rockabilly.
That's right.
So what's rockabilly? What's a little bit
Rockabilly.
of
It's like old Elvis. You know, it's the old days of when country and rock was kind of blending together. You know, Johnny Cash, Elvis,
Yeah.
Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, that kind of thing.
right? And you love like music history. You're
I do.
basically a music historian.
I'm a
right?
bit of a music historian. I do. I love the fact that American popular music is such a it's such a it didn't start with rock and roll. You know, it started
Yeah.
really with the birth of radio and records, the phonograph machine, and it's without getting too deep about it, I feel like American popular music is one of the greatest exports that America has ever given the world. There's no negative to it. It's all positive, and the world's embraced it. So I'm proud to be a small part of that.
What about the blues? You've been influenced
yeah.
quite a bit by the blues.
Well, the blues here again, it's the roots of rock and roll.
Yeah.
The blues is an American art form. A quintessential American art form. It's as pure as it gets. So.
Is it a sad origin necessarily? Is it because you think blues, melancholy, hey, I literally got the blues? Or is there more to it than just kind of a sad song kind of thing?
I think a lot of the African American experience where the blues emanated from.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of sorrow and a lot of pain that really was the catalyst for a lot of that music. But at the same time, it's not necessarily sad. It's celebratory in a sense too. Right
in the theme of today's show,
Yeah.
celebrating kind of coming out of this whole last year.
Yeah, there you go.
We're all vaccinated,
That's
living
right.
in kind of a
That's
post-vaccine kind of time,
Yes.
and that kind of leads.
Pulling down the mask.
Well, we were doing it, coming in, and we're being extra safe, coming in and out, and when it's appropriate, and even post-vaccine. All being vaccinated, still respecting other people, and we don't know
Sure.
what their situations, or we don't even know everything about COVID either.
No,
so being
no.
extra safe.
We're entering in a whole new world, so we'll have to adapt and deal with it. But it's our new reality, and
Yeah.
so be it.
Lots of good things, though, coming out of it, including Arkansas. And we had shared a little bit in the last show this summer when you joined us, and your song Arkansas. And can you tell people a little bit more about that?
Well, that was going back to what I was talking about, the kind of the roots of American popular music. I started out to just do a very simple record that would really be a tribute to one of my heroes, Mississippi John Hurt. But once we started playing and the band started to reimagine some of these old blues songs in a very unique way, I thought, I think that it deserves to have a wider scope. So I began to look at the music that came from that was on jukeboxes in the 1920s and 1930s, in the early days of record, when people started making records and the phonograph machine was invented. And so the Arkansas record became a kind of a snapshot of the early days of American popular music in a sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You want to share something from Arkansas with us?
Well, I got a...
Or how about your recent kind of project with John Henry?
Could
You wanna
do that
sing
too.
something? Yeah.
Well,
You pick it, John.
Well, I'll tell
We're
you
just
what,
having fun.
Since we're talking about the blues,
Whatever you feel.
Since we're talking about the blues, I'll do an old. This is a blues song that was written in the 1930s by a group called the Mississippi Sheiks, and a lot of people know it from a lot of bluegrass players have kind of adopted this, but it's actually started. It started with the blues. I have my own interpretation of it.
Nice.
It's called "Sitting on Top of the World." Was in the spring, one sunny day, my sweetheart left me, Lord, she went away, and now she's gone, gone, gone out of the world. Lord, I'm sitting on top of the world. Well, she called me up down in El Paso. She said, come back, Daddy. Oh, Lord, I need you so. But now she's gone. I don't worry. Lord, I'm sitting on top of the world. Back in the jail, back to the wall. Red-headed mama, she didn't cause a big at all. And now she's gone, 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 gone. I don't worry. Lord, I'm sailing on top of the world. And now she's gone, and I don't worry. Lord, I'm sitting on top of the world.
Yeah, I like it. I like it, man. That's sweet. So sitting on top of the world, you know, a lot of us for that means is I'm happy. You know, I think a lot of people just basically just want to be happy, you know, through life, whatever they're doing. And we have twists and turns and trying to figure out what that means. But like, what does it mean like to you in terms of how does it feel to be happy? You know, with a, you know, really fulfilling life and career and then what would be some kind of tips that you would share to gain happiness, you know, in life?
I don't know. Nothing worse than listening to some crackpot philosophy from an old rock star. I think that's a very dangerous.
It might make people unhappy.
I think that's a very dangerous place to be there, Eric. But nevertheless, you did ask. You know what it is?
Do you consider yourself happy?
I'm very happy. I'm blessed. I've been very fortunate in my life to have had the type of life I have, and because I get to do what I love to do, what I was kind of born to do.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that's probably the ultimate goal in life. Everyone's got to work in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
But if you love what you do, I mean, you know, I think that's about it. But you know, just appreciating the little things, appreciating the friendships and your health and kindness. You know, they're the things that matter, and I try to you know emphasize that, you know, with, you know, not only within myself, but with, you know, with the people I surround myself with.
So you're appreciating those things. You're grateful. Basically,
That's right,
it's a coming from a place of gratitude,
exactly.
and that helps create that happiness. And then doing work you love is so important, right?
Yeah.
It's purposeful.
That's right.
Like you wake up every day and like you look for, you want to paint
True.
the palette, right?
Yeah, that's it.
That's what I like to say. Sometimes on a powder day, we could paint with our tracks.
That's right. I miss that.
Well, you're painting on the groomers, like, you know, like
Yeah, it's
when
not
I
quite the
skate
same.
ski.
Not quite the same.
Oh, okay, all right.
Right.
But you know what I mean? Every day's a way to create and live that purposeful, you know, work that you enjoy. And like, what's your favorite part now? Is it like sharing, like, especially after sequestering, sharing live like we're doing today in front of people?
I'm really looking forward to playing live. You know, Daryl and I have a tour that we're planning for early August, and hopefully, if the world continues to trend in the right direction, we'll be out there touring again, which will be great. Be great to get back out there with the Hall & Oates band, because it's an amazing group of guys and amazing band. But I also have a band in Nashville called the Good Road Band, and I love playing with those guys too. So, yeah, playing live will be really refreshing after all this time. And at the same time, you know, like I said, it's going to be hard to pry me out of my house, but we'll make it work.
But but hopefully you're going to capture that balance now, right?
Yeah.
Moving forward, like
That's what we're trying to
touring, but maybe having some breaks. And what does that look like? Like once you start back on the road, is it just going to be constant?
No,
Or
no.
you do get some breaks in
We've been touring for so long that we also, you know, there's a certain reality. It's a very physical thing. You know?
Right.
People don't realize. I mean, you're traveling every day. You're sleeping in different hotels. You're coming in contact with thousands of people.
Yeah.
You have to avoid getting sick. You know, it's food. It's more than, you know. It goes way beyond the the glitter and glam of what most people think a life on the road is like. But nevertheless, it's better than the alternative, I guess.
Right. Well, let's keep moving forward into the light, into the future.
Sure.
And what are some other things you're looking forward to? Like, say, this summer, you're coming back to Aspen to spend some more time.
Yeah,
you'll start back on tour in August.
Looking forward to recharging the batteries out here in the mountains, and enjoying the hiking and the biking and the fresh air. And then when the time comes to tour, I'll just put my road dog hat on and get out there and go.
Go do that, and then come back and maybe do some road biking. You got a new road bike.
I did. I got a new specialized carbon fiber road bike,
The Roubaix.
The Roubaix. I hadn't had a new
sweet.
bike in over 10 years. So
wow.
I jumped into the modern world with disc brakes and electronic shifters. I was like, oh, okay. So this is what's going on.
Big difference, huh?
Yeah, it was fun.
Sweet. So what's your favorite ride? Like, mine is the Bells. I just can't.
Well, I'm really
I can't beat that one.
Yeah, well, I'm lucky because where I live, I can access the bike path.
Yeah.
I can access the road to Lanedo. And
Monastery? You like to go back in that area?
I go out to the Conoco and up to the monastery and go out to do that ride.
Nice.
Also in the early part of the season, you got to try to stay on the flat stuff for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
Get
Build
my
a base.
spin going, get my spin going. But I was a pretty avid biker, and I haven't tried a lot of the new mountain bike trails, which everyone is raving about. And so I've got to dip into that as well.
Get up into Sky Mountain Park and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And hey, man, if you ever want to go ride, I'd love to.
Well,
it would be a lot of fun to ride with you.
We'll see how fit I am. I know who you are.
Oh no!
I know.
I'm starting kind of fresh too every spring with bass, and I think too on that note, to put in the bass, put in the due diligence.
Sure.
Like you do, you're always practicing, and refining your music, and to do that bass mileage, which for a lot of us just a lot of easy flat miles, especially on a road bike. Yeah. Great way to start the season. So we're both. It sounds like on our way to our bass.
Yeah.
So that's super cool.
Yeah.
Let's move into some, some new favorite music.
Yeah.
We got to hear a couple more, one or two songs, whatever we have time for. And
we
were talking John Henry pre-show.
Joe Henry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, John Henry.
John
Henry is the mythical guy who beat the locomotive.
Right, that's right. I just got that one stuck in the head, bouncing around.
Anyway, Joe Henry is a really great. He's an author, lyricist. He's written songs with John Denver and a number of other people.
Cool.
Lives in Woody Creek, and he and I are neighbors, and we never ever got together to write anything. Although this past summer we met up, and it was his idea. He said, I've seen you around for 25 years. We got to write a song, and we did. He came up with a really cool idea. It was called Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee. They were a legendary blues duo.
Okay.
Who were together for over 40 years, and they, off stage they really didn't like each other that much, but on stage they were magic, and I thought it was an interesting metaphor for a lot of things in my life, and I thought, but how can I take that idea and make it a little broader and a little bit more universal? And so I sat with it for a while, and when the Oates Fest was coming up, I wanted to write a new song that I could include in the festival that we were doing, the virtual festival. So I revisited the idea, and anyway, I really like the lyrics that we came up with, and it's called Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee.
So you guys co-wrote that, basically. How cool is that? All right, let's check it out.
Something like this.
How fun.
I'll be there for you. You be there for me. All just passing through, trying to be the best that we can be. A house that's divided isn't strong enough to stand. Nothing gets decided, by drawing lines in the sand. Talk about getting even, talk about sticks and stones. Philosophers and fools throwing dice with loaded bones. brother to brother, together, but when they're on their own, they're singing the blues in different keys, just dreaming dreams about what could be. I'll walk for you, you'll see for me, said Sonny Terry to Brownie McGee. Kindness of the heart is just a measure of a man. Stop saying it can't be done, no, no. Start saying yes it can. When you're stumbling through the darkness, reach out and open up the door. Trying to bring this world together, yeah. That's worth striving for. Lying, disbelieving till the truth is gone. Ain't no logic and no reason for all this carrying on. Been a long dark night, gonna wake up to a brighter dawn. Just keep holding on and sing the blues in different keys, and keep on dreaming about what could be. I'll walk for you, you'll see for me, said Sonny Terry to Brownie McGee. Talk about getting even, talk about sticks and stones, philosophers and fools rolling dice with loaded bones. Brother to brother together, but when they're on their own, they're singing the blues in different keys. Together forever now they would be. Said Sonny Terry to Brownie McGee.
Wow, nice. Wow, I really like that.
Yeah, thanks.
Kind of reminded me a little bit of, I had like a Starwood flashback, you know, from back in the day.
Yeah.
Did
Bobby
Joe
Mason.
ever write for Starwood at all?
He might have. Joe's been around a long time.
He's been around, and that kind of went through that era of time, probably in Aspen. And
Yeah.
who's been your most influential Aspen? It's like the musicians that have been here through the years are just the who's who, you know, the Dirt Band, the Eagles, John Denver, on and on. Stevie Nicks even came and I heard was inspired with Landslide.
Well, back in the early days, you know, Jimmy Ibbotson from the Dirt Band and Don Henley from the Eagles were my neighbors on either side. And you know, I mean, Aspen has such a great tradition of people coming. You know, Jimmy Buffett was here for quite a while.
Buffett.
You know, so you
He
know,
got kicked out of here.
And the great players, you know, people like like Aspen's musical mayor, Bobby Mason. He was a great guy to be hanging with in the early days, and Michael Jude and John Michelle, who I play with, and they play here in the Valley, but they also play over in Vail. So you know, just some great players, you know, that we've had a chance to make music here in the Valley with.
So, speaking of your neighbors, were there any crazy rock star parties in Woody Creek with those kind of neighbors? Did you guys ever get together and like
I would
kind of let it all blow out, or not?
I really don't know, Eric. And if I did, I'm sworn to secrecy.
Right, and this is a family show too,
That's right,
so we got to
got to be
keep
careful.
it, you know.
Yeah.
But once you said that, I was like, oh my! I immediately started conjuring up images.
Well, let's put it
what are
this
these
way.
guys doing as neighbors?
Today's Aspen is not the same as 70s and 80s Aspen. I can tell you that.
Right. So all those different, incredible influences. And did you have a chance to play with a lot of these guys?
Sure. I know, you know, most everybody.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't play a lot together. Everybody, you know, people don't realize that musicians, you know, especially professional musicians and touring musicians in particular, they have their own solar systems. You know, they're kind of at the center of the solar system, and you know, the band and the managers and the agents and whoever, are kind of circling around. But those solar systems very rarely come into contact. They're all flying through space, but they don't necessarily bump into each other very often, unless you're doing a festival or something like that.
Right, because you guys are usually touring, and you're touring in your own patterns and things like that. Mm-hmm. So that's so neat. Well, the other thing about, we talk about so many things about Aspen and the skiing and the biking and the music and what about the environment? And to me, the environment has kind of gotten pushed away a little bit in recent years, and in terms of development, really coming in and really, dominating. And, we had this very controversial and divisive, frankly, 1A vote with over 300,000 square feet of development going up onto the slopes of 1A. As our last mayor, Steve Skadron, who, by the way, was my last roommate I ever had, would say a Hotel Jerome and a St. Regis going up onto the slopes in terms of development. And currently construction is going crazy. And we have this economy environment, almost loggerheads of budding in terms of priority and importance. And I more wanted to focus on the environment and, your love of the environment, and kind of it just is. It's like a wellspring, when you're in Aspen. It's like, can you talk about your love of the environment and what nature means to you in your life?
Yeah, I mean, it's always been an important part of my life, and coming out to Aspen was really one of the draws. Was the pristine environment that could be, that you could enjoy living in and among, or within, and that's. But development and progress. It's inevitable. It's a matter of how you control it. Thing about Aspen, and especially over the years, and I've always felt like it's a town with a lot of chiefs and not a lot of Indians.
Yeah.
When you have something that's so special in the world, that's such a unique place, it's going to draw people from all over the world because they want to experience it.
Exactly.
And a lot. And during the recent pandemic, I know there's been a large influx of people who might normally have been visitors who have elected to stay, which is going to here again change the dynamic.
Yeah.
But it that's what life is all about. It's you have to adapt, and it's always about compromise and trying to do the best with what you have to work with. So. I'm not in a good position to say that much about the details of things like that, but because I do live in Nashville almost full time.
Yeah.
So far be it from me to be a little bit of an outsider coming into at the last minute. And
I guess more focused on your love of the environment kind of what that means to you in your life. The development part, we're doing our best to try to manage that. Yeah. And this one came down to the voters.
It's about management.
And managing that. But I guess more, how do we do better maybe for the environment here locally, especially?
I think what happens is people who will come to a place like this, they may come with and bring their baggage of where they're from, and their sensibilities of where they're from. But I think the magic and what happens when you actually experience what it's like to live here, you change. I think it's inevitable that someone would have their sensibilities would adapt to where they are and realize that they need to be part of the solution and part of protecting this incredibly unique place in the world.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're going to fall in love with Aspen and the area and nature, and hopefully care.
That's
more,
right, and their priorities will change, and that's what you hope for.
Yeah. Well, I know it's just for me deriving my personal and my professional as a guide. It's about not only enjoying it, but now what can I do to give back, and what can I do to make a difference, and can I pick up a piece of litter?
Sure.
Like on my bike ride today, and we like to share just one piece of litter each bike ride with this pristine riders.
Start, right?
Yeah, I'll get you a bike jersey because we launched this last year as a nonprofit, Pristine Riders.
Oh, okay.
Now based in the Roaring Fork Valley.
Yeah.
But we're going to spread through Colorado and hopefully nationwide with this concept of, can we just pick up one piece of litter each bike ride or each hike or each day? Right. Just do something a little bit each day. And
it's what it's all about. You got to start somewhere.
And if we all just do a little bit, right?
After I played a couple songs, so I get a free jersey. Is that how this works?
Yeah, songs and picking up litter.
I'll do a little of both. How's that?
Yeah, exactly. Because I know you have a passion for the environment too
Sure.
and nature, and
Sure.
I think we have time for just one more song. I'm just going to let you pick
Wow.
old, new,
Really?
wild card. Whatever you feel joyous.
I'll go way back into the Hall & Oates catalog. How's
Love
that?
it, love
Okay.
it, love it.
This is a song that this song that was on the Abandoned Luncheonette album in 1973, and it was the last song I wrote living in Philadelphia before moving to New York. And a city bus I was on the street, and a city bus had pulled up in front of me, and the windows were all dusty and dirty, and I saw a gal looking at me through the window, and the bus only paused for a few seconds. And then it moved on. And as I walked across the street, I just had this weird, songwriters can fantasize about all kinds of weird stuff. And I thought to myself, I wonder what would happen if we had ever met. Would we have gotten together? Would we have gotten married, had a kid? Who knows? Just a weird fantasy, but it was enough for me to get an idea for a song, and that's all that counts.
There you go. Inspiration.
Were you ever so in love you couldn't wait to get to sleep and dream about the one you wish was there beside you? In the past few days I've grown to love your giggles on the phone, how we hug so nicely. And from the first time that I saw you, had I known you better then, I would have said those 3 old words. And from the first time that I saw you, had I known you better then. Now I'm gonna move away, another town, another crazy day. I wanna stay and maybe hang around you. I call it luck, call it fate, call it a chance that we've met too late and loved so lightly. And from the first time that I saw you, had I known you better then, I would have said those 3 old words. From the first time that I saw you, had I known you better then. Had I known you better. Had I known you better. Had I known you better then.
Man, that was sweet. So sweet.
Thanks.
Really appreciate that. I think your voice is like a fine wine, getting better with age, my friend.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
So-
That song, I can't believe that song is, 50 years old?
Is that amazing?
Amazing. Wow.
Is that amazing?
Crazy.
So when you sing, we're down to just seconds, but when you sing like that, a song from does that flood you back, like
It
those
does. Takes
memories
me-
from the past?
It does. It takes me right back to the. Well, I told a little of the story where the idea came from.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it does. It takes me back to, I was just a little kid, man. I was 22 or 21. Wow. I don't know what I was.
Impressionable.
Yes. Yeah, man.
Did you have fun on the show today, buddy?
You know what? You are a very smooth host.
Oh,
I will
thank
say.
you.
And I like you. You make it so casual and so fun. So thanks. Thanks for having me, man. I'll do this anytime you want.
Oh, I really appreciate that. And
Yeah.
it's guests like you, that make this,
Thanks, man.
for me, so fulfilling and so fun. And
Yeah.
I don't go back to the 70s, but I go back a 17-year run now on the local show.
Right.
And it's been, again, inspirational locals like yourself. And so great to have you back in the community here.
Thanks,
and,
man. Well-
and I really appreciate all you do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Let's get out there and get on the bike.
Yeah, well, at least road bike, right?
You got it.
At least get out, and then we'll talk about the mountain bike.
We'll work up to that.
Don't worry, there's cookies in there for you.
I love
baked
it.
them fresh.
I love it. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you, John Oates,
Thank
for
you.
joining us.
Thanks,
Thank you
Eric.
guys for joining us this week on a special edition of The Local Show.